how do you keep the whole thing inclusive and fun, but yet learn a lot about the language when you have people in the room and people on the internet and people on the phone simultaneously? That for me can be sometimes a challenge, because you could do stuff to get people moving around in the room. And there's a lot to be said about active language learning, where you're moving around, you're doing things. You know, some of the things that you can certainly do as far as language activities. So we do a lot of processing stuff here. And my philosophy is we cover a lot of ground here with the hope that you're doing additional stuff outside of class. Especially as we start turning seasons and you think about seasonal lifestyles. We have these series of posters on the wall, which we haven't even touched yet. Although next semester we'll certainly be doing things with that. And it's actually called the Seasonal Rounds poster series, developed by a Schmelge language program in Prince Rupert. You know, and so you'll see Tsimshian language on there. But those of us who teach Tlingit language, we fell in love with them because there's coastal people doing coastal stuff. We can relate to every single one of these posters. So there's, as far as language activities, as you go forward with the stuff you're learning here, and one of the things I really hope you do is you start teaching people the language. Because one, it has this sort of zombies taking over the world effect. Two, if you want to learn it, teach it. Three, it just keeps you in the language. It's another way to keep you in the language. This is not like French, where you can just go somewhere and everybody speaks French. And so, you know, even today at the tribal assembly, this is the leadership of our tribe, there'll be about 150 people in the room at any given time. And at the highest, I think there were maybe 8 speakers of any one of the 3 languages. Right? So, and it's a gathering that, you know, not all leaders are speakers, but there might be a slightly higher percentage than normal. And most of the speakers I talk to, we inevitably get to the conversation where they say they don't have enough people to talk. So a lot of times as a language learner, it's also your responsibility to create those situations where you're using the language. As far as being more active than sometimes we are in here, there's really fun things you can do. Make big lists of plants and just go walk out and find them. After you've found them, you got to bring books with you a lot, but you know, we used to have to carry all this stuff, and now I've got it all on my phone, right? Little teeny phone. But then you can look up how do you, because for me, language learning is like, okay, you can name things. Now can you start describing those things? Now can you start saying something about those things? So we play some games in our upper level language classes, and also in our different sort of language learning camps. Last year and the year before, we did these 10-day language camps. They weren't immersion camps, although we did immersion activities, but they would go basically 10 days in a row from basically 9 to 5. Although we'd usually start about 9:30, we'd take kind of a 2-hour lunch break. Because I think it's intense to learn that much language. And then we usually be done by 4, but then I would have the advanced students hang out and we'd do just sort of Q&A, what kinds of additional things do you need? And these are some things, keeping a language journal really helps. To just keep asking yourself, what do I need to learn now? What do I need to learn now? What do I need to learn now? The verb is shtu. We're teaching ourselves. And that's not to say that other people don't teach us, but that verb reveals a lot to me of the Tlingit way of looking at it, is that it's really up to you. Right? If you're not the one taking that initiative constantly, you're gonna stall out and get kind of stuck. And we see people do that all over the place. The beauty is you'll never run out of things. Tlingit is full of so many rules and so many different variables that it's really fun. Right? You'll never be bored, but you'll also never fully feel like you master the language. Or maybe when we're all in like our 80s and 90s and all making jokes that nobody gets about strange group, then maybe we'll collectively have a better grasp. And it's going to be interesting. Just today we're talking about languages and learning among our tribal leadership. Tomorrow we'll probably vote on a tribal schools program, which could be a game changer. And basically what it would do, if it passes, it would start a tribal schools program within Central Council. And what that would mean is over the summer we would develop an immersion daycare that targets about 5 to 10 kids. And the goal is to just keep them in the language as much as we can. And then from there, start developing, probably for the fall of 2016, a K through 12 program, where we would just absorb a whole bunch of kids who've had some language exposure now and try and give them more and more and more. And then as this kindergarten grade comes, we're teaching them entirely in the language. So with this older group of kids, we're doing this cultural and language infusion of a curriculum. And then we're just sort of cleansing the English right out of that curriculum as we go forward. And this can be interesting. Like if we really did that, and then we raise kids, you know, there's little mistakes I always make. Hitshantu is upstairs. Anybody? It's a compound phrase, or noun, I guess. Anybody know how it works?
Inside the house's head?
Mm-hmm. So hit, shun, tu, inside the head of the house, right? And then hit dayina is how you'd say down. You can also say hit dikina. It's just the area above the area below. And for some reason, I always get them mixed up. I know what they are. I'll be talking to my daughter, and we'll be upstairs, and I'll be like, hit shun today, nach to. She'll say, we are hit shun today. Hit dayina day. But if we had these kids that had this full language exposure, and you look at Hawaii and they've got thousands of fluent children, just thousands, Maori, thousands of fluent children. It's going to be really interesting to see what that generation is like, because we have these generations that are recovering it, sometimes in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s, sometimes in their 40s, sometimes in their 60s. But then you have others who, and you learn differently. Nobody had to explain how articles work to you, right? When do you use a or an? When do you use the? When do you use nothing? It's a pretty straightforward rule, but, Zeus, one of my friends and colleagues, and my Tlingit expert, who I ask all my questions to about linguistic stuff with Tlingit, he says it's sort of like calling somebody up on the phone and explaining how to walk. Right? And so that's sort of how it often is when you're trying to explain a language you've learned from birth. But a language you learn as a second language, it's a different experience, because you have to sort of counter a lot of the information that you already have, because grammar, it helps construct your worldview. It inevitably does. So it's not saying everybody has the same worldview, but this is why people who are birth speakers of Tlingit can relate to each other more than even people who are Tlingit but didn't grow up with the language. So these are interesting things that have been on my mind. That's a long rant. Any questions? Anybody online? Anybody got any questions? Everybody okay? Okay. What started that?
Pinatas.
Pinatas, that's right. Okay. We were talking about cultural activity.
Hello.
What did you talk?
Huh?
How do not you get
Ikea Satini. What's the Ah. Yasa Icha.
Fruit and cheese dip.
Ah. Eoe. Wanachat wasagu ha adeki ketain has ausagu ayuchatungi. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the whole thing we've been going through this semester, and we're going to just kind of go through that.
The workbook?
Yep.
Cool.
In the meantime, just feel free to fire off any questions that you might have.
Why are the lights always on in the Tlingit courthouse? Always. I go home on the bus, and they're on all night. Like, and I've driven by there like significantly late. Yeah, and then in the daytime they're on too. They're just always on.
I don't know.
I'm wondering.
Justice never turns off.
Justice never sleeps.
Justice never sleeps.
Overturn
I'll
the
ask.
I had a question. I was just wondering what handout it was. This is Christina, so I have to go through my email.
Oh, what was your question again?
I was just wondering what handout it was this time.
Okay,
so last time I was following along with that story and there was something wrong.
So this is the beginning Tlingit workbook that we were working from.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure it wasn't that story because you kept saying the number and I kept looking and I was like, those aren't even close to the words.
Oh, yeah, because there's a page number and a line number, and it's like a six or 700 line story. It's extremely long, and I know it's got to be really hard to follow along, especially if you haven't had a lot of exposure reading Tlingit.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, someday I'll have those in some easier fashion to read. And feel free to fire off any questions as we're going through. And the way I would prefer to do this, since we've gone through this whole thing a number of times, the end we haven't gone through all those parts. Some of them, like I don't know when the last time we did the weather verbs, it's probably been a while. But I would like you to, as we go through, whether it's a noun or a phrase or whatever, I would like us to take turns and you say it first. And then we'll all say it. And then if there's anything that sort of requires or warrants any sort of discussion or totally sidetracked stories and themes, we'll kind of go there. And feel free to ask any questions, anything that you're thinking of. These are our last 3 classes, and we're breaking up for the summer. We'll get back together in the fall. Okay. So I'm hoping this thing will be in some roughly publishable form in the near future, so that doesn't have to be necessarily chunked out. The bad thing is, this has been probably 10 years in the making, and I haven't been very good about keeping track of where I get these pictures. I just Google Tunach Huate Nuch, and I'm not always good about writing down where they came from. So someone might sue us someday, but I think I tried to find Wikipedia first because they have a pretty open source philosophy. National Geographic for a lot of the animals, I would check their photos, because I figured they would have less of a problem with education. I have a relative who took an awesome picture of a land otter, which is hard to find. And I said, can I use this for my Tlingit curriculum? She's like, sure. And then she sends it to me, and it's got like her name and like just huge, like copyright and stuff. I'm like, come on, I'm not gonna sell it. All right. So let's take a look at this first line on the bottom. We'll just go one sort of line at a time. It's a little bigger. It's a pretty important little saying. It's not little. It comes from a speech. 1981. Si Alaskach Hastu Tawasaku Wushkanach Haspu Da'ati Hakosti Hahayuchatangidat Yuhaskau Sha'at Aitach aya celebration kudzati. Shidahini at wusku akrewuti kanach awikich nach. De shitan awehu an gundach. Hu awekadikani. Kash atk. Kagwantan awet kashiat kadach. Hasawe konach yuchauchat. Yus chauchat. Ayuchatangi ham hostida. Ka hastu chaput kagu. Atyetki kadain hasach. Aka Duyuchatangi tunach yata. It's part of a big series of speeches going back and forth between George Davis, who's Deshitan, and Charlie Joseph, who's Kagwantan. There were certainly other speakers, but if you read the sort of transcripts that was recorded, Dick and Nora Dowenhauer released a small book that was called Because We Cherish You, which later became sort of a section of Hatu Naguyis. And they transcribed it and translated it. And it was developed this really wonderful back and forth, talking about our culture and things. And then there's this particular part which was made into a song. And I just want to sort of break it down for a second before we start moving into the sound practice and walking through this document. So we'll take this in small parts, and I'll say it and you guys repeat. Su heyday,
Su heyday,
su heyday,
Su heyday,
shugach tutan.
Shugach tutan,
That should be high tone right there. Shugach tutan.
Shugach tutan,
Ya ya kuske.
Ya ya kuske,
Ya ya kuske.
Ya ya kuske,
Dakate.
Dakate,
Dakate.
Dakate,
Hajich.
Hajik,
Jeez, that should not be high tone. Hajik.
Hajik,
Anak.
Anak,
Anak.
Anak,
Huskaudik eat.
Huskaudik,
Huskaudik eat.
Huskaudik,
Okay. So going through, there's two types of su. Anybody tell me what those two types are?
Also,
There's also
again,
and again. So how do we tell the difference between also and again?
one high tone.
Yes, also is high tone, and it tends to appear at the end of a sentence or phrase. So again is low tone, and it tends to appear shortly before a verb. Right, so you could say, Hey Deshagatu Tansa. We're going to open that one as well. Su Hey Deshagatu Tan. We're going to open it again. Right. Kind of getting close, similar, but different. Shugach tutan is, well, the heyday part has to be sort of like coming in this direction. So Tlingit categorizes everything. We've talked about these handling verbs. There's another group of verbs which has to do with opening and closing. If it's on a hinge, that's different than if it's a lid that pulls off. That's different than a window that you turn the crank. That's different than a window that you slide back and forth. And that's different than a window that you would slide up and down. And those are the basic ways you open things. I don't know of other ways. I guess there's, oh yeah, twisting. So this would be to twist something off. And then there would be to twist something like a faucet. And there would be turning things on and off like a light switch. The concepts are all very similar in Tlingit. What's that?
Doorknob?
Yeah, well, that would still be,
Kind of like the.
I guess because the doorknob, you turn it and then you pull. So it's the pulling on the hinge that actually opens it. If it were some weird door where you had a crank and turning the crank got the door to open for some reason, then, because that's how, some windows you turn the crank and then even though it's on a hinge, that crank is what opens it. Pulling on the hinge is sort of like, the root for that is like a bentwood box maybe, and you would pull it up and the end would still rest there. So you're just pulling it up so you can reach inside and not necessarily taking the lid off. Okay. Yeah. Knowledge or intelligence or wisdom. It has to do, get is the root, which has to do with being intelligent or smart. And then the k is this sort of aerial prefix on there. Ducate. There's this really interesting thing in Tlingit where things turn into this EI sound. And there's a lot of different combinations that are going to make that sound. Like ye, which means below, and ut. Those two things combined will make yate, shayate, the thing below your head. Kachechuyate, the thing below a sleeping person, which is a bed. And so you just keep your eye out for these things and you'll learn how to spot these sort of compound nouns, is what we call them. Daka'at, the thing around the outside of it. And it's a container. Decate is a container. Sometimes you would refer to things, because other times people will say, Yakuske Kuk, the box of wisdom. This is container, sometimes interchangeable with box. It's just really saying this is the container that goes around wisdom. Haji. Ji is possession. It's the same one we'd use for achjiwu, achjit te. And we'll see it come up quite a bit in Tlingit. Things talk towards possession quite a bit. The X apostrophe, we're going to learn about these next semester. We'll start getting into suffixes and generally how they function. This one means to kind of reside in a place or to be resting in a place. Anak. This means to leave something behind. Right? So you could say we were composing a song that was a suicide prevention song in Tlingit. And they gave us, the elder that I was working with, Kehinak, John Martin, said, we're not going to leave you behind. He wanted to make sure that was a phrase that was in that particular song. There's a lot of things that are very, they're just very metaphorical in Tlingit. They're suggestive types of things, especially when you get into things that are hard to talk about. So haskaudakit could literally mean they went in a big group all together. But usually, especially if you say something like anak haskaudakit, you're saying they all died off and left this thing behind. They died off from it. So what this phrase is giving us, we will once again open it, this container of wisdom that resides in our possession, that they have died off. And there's super suggestive stuff as well. We'd already been having these big conversations about things, but Tlingit also, it sort of assumes you know a bunch of stuff about Tlingit, right? So if we say we know who died off from that box of wisdom. That would be our ancestors, our grandparents. And so there's certain times in context, things like hashagun, hashuka, those specifically are often referring to ancestors. Hashish, has. But it could mean just my grandparents who were like the parents of my parents. But it depends on the context. And in this case, Like there's other speeches where you read it and you're looking at the English translation. It says, we're going to imitate our ancestors. But then if you actually sort of break down the sentence, you'll see it just says, we're going to imitate them, and that them is already implied. Okay? Right on. So this is a breakdown of that phrase. And we're going to just go right into our content. Here's some sound practice. So, let's see if I can ever remember this. Kainach dach nach daskinach dachuni nach kejini nach akayat iti kach. We have 5 in the room. Kainach dach nach naskinach dachuni nach. I think we have 4 online and 1 on the phone. Is that correct? 1 on the phone. Before we start tomorrow, those of you in Juneau, there's a native jazz duo, Ed Littlefield and Christian Fabian. They blend some Tlingit, sometimes language and Tlingit melodies, especially from lullabies into jazz music. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the KTOO building, $10. Yeah.
Cool.
This can be broadcast, can be part of a studio audience. Okay, so you'll say it, we'll all repeat it. Well, we'll just do them all once. We've done these things before.
Are we doing the page 5 or the page 4?
We're doing, let's start right on page 5.
Okay. Wasus.
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 Masus.
Cheech.
Cheech.
Cheat.
Cheat.
Da.
Da. Yechtutchta.
Clay.
Glade. Yendistla. Zaid. Buried late. Yeah, I want to write something that has like this. I want to invent the low tone line. Super low.
So I was reading on the Tlingit Wikipedia, on the Tlingit page on Wikipedia, and it said that in the southern dialects they have a 3-tone system. I never heard that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So there's a low, a mid, and high tone.
Well, so there's something else too when we start writing tone marks. So there's this thing, like you could say, "Atayana good, yeah," and you would put AAD high tone E, YAA, YA, Atayana, oh no, YAA space NAG high tone U, DI space Y high tone E. But a lot of times you would write it without that tone on the yanagudi. Because it's ade yanagudi, yeah. But that's probably a high tone as well, but just not as high as the other things. For example, everybody say wasawe.
Wasawe.
The wa is higher than the other ones, but those are all high tones. We would write those all as high tones. But it's like wasawe. Like you don't keep it at this exact pitch. Because Tlingit also has inflection stress for meaning, right? Did we talk about stress before?
Mm-hmm.
So English has stress, right? There's something called prosody, where you can take an English word, and the more you practice it, you can figure out whether it has stressed syllables or unstressed syllables. And this is how you get iambic pentameter and nursery rhymes and da 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 da. So poets who are form poets and write for particular styles, they pay attention to this. Syllable counts, where stressed syllables are and where they're not. And this is where you get like llama, llama, red pajama, right? So it's like da 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 da. And the language has it built in. But in addition to the stress there, there's an additional type of stress that has to do with meaning, right? So for example, if our sentence was, I saw Susie kissing Jimmy in the park. So I could say, I saw Susie kissing Jimmy in the park, right? So Susie is the big deal there. I saw Susie kissing Jimmy in the park. Kissing is the big deal. And for whatever reason, we say, I saw Susie kissing Jimmy in the park. Like I don't know why, but the park would be a big deal. But the other slight one that we could use is I could say, like, what the hell are you doing here? Right? I could say, what the hell are you doing here? It says, you should not be here. And what the hell are you doing here? You should be somewhere else, right? So we use this to convey meaning. In English, I think it could be successfully argued that there's one primary stress per sentence. And that's the most important thing of the sentence. And that's how English tells you what the most important thing is. Tlingit does it by putting it towards the head, right at the front of the sentence. But Tlingit also has stress within it for meaning as well. And it helps to elevate what the most important parts of the sentences are. So there could be multi-tone systems, but I think with Southern Tlingit, there's really high tone, low tone, falling tone. Those are the three types of tones that I know. And then in Tongass, there's no tones, right? So, but maybe there is a mid-tone too. And so there hasn't been a whole lot of work done in that arena. What did we leave off? Oh, we did Zayd. Let's see. Kubuch, is it just you there in Yakutat tonight?
Yeah, Yonda's had a dentist appointment.
Okay. Qashtin.
Janwu.
Janwu. And Yakutat would say Jinwu.
Jinju.
Okay. Christina, we're on page 6, top left. Still with us? Okay. Ipoha. Slush. Klug. News. Seek. Speak. Hiltuchta.
Shaw.
Shah. Kubuch.
Tika.
Tiga. Ashtin.
Ta.
Shlu.
Clay Flu. And call timeout on this. A lot of people, Clay Flu means butterfly. I have been told it's moth, but I'm not. I'm like 60%. And I think they might actually be interchangeable. I'm not exactly sure.
Then what's butterfly?
I've heard 2 words for butterfly. One is kasla, but I've only heard it as a name. I've never seen it in a dictionary. And kadakedi kahi. Now that's a compound, right? So this is the other thing we talk about. Certain things mean things, right? Like tia, the thing that chisels. Ganda de gugu, the thing that pecks around the wood, or woodpecker. Kadakedi kahi. Anybody break it down? Gook. Break it down.
Around people.
Yeah,
People.
container around people. What do you think that would be?
A garden.
When do you put a container around people?
Cage. Prison.
Death.
Oh.
Coffin.
Oh.
Kadakate. And especially, you know, you think about it's an inventive word, because Tlingits never use coffins. Right? Like, oh, no, that's what you're doing. Kach is mold. Mold on a person's coffin. Kach.
Wouldn't that be more like a moth than a butterfly?
I don't know. Mold is kind of different color, kind of. And there's yet another name for a moth. I think there's two. A kha, which is also like food. But I think it's, I don't know. I gotta look at it now. And then I think Atcha or something like that, like clothes eater, thing eater,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because it eats things.
I thought moths ate clothes, not.
But that's a word for moth, not butterfly.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about butterfly. Okay.
Now we're 100% confused. Let's move on. Eve. Even if you're uncertain, pay close attention to tone, so we're not doing the wrong burden. Saw.
Satsi.
Ski. Time out on this one. For some people, Tatsi is like a bird bigger than like a fist. Tzitsk is a bird smaller than a fist. In other communities, they don't use Tatsi at all. There's a true Canadian story where they explain how Tsisk is a contraction of Tatsi. But I don't know if that's just for true Canadian. Okay.
Yuck.
Yuck. Yecht Uchtla, we are now on page 8. Gooch. Kuch.
Cost.
Cost. Achten. Achten. Moving along.
In Chei.
In Chei.
Husha.
Chasha.
Hog.
Hog. We named a pear, like the pear that you eat. Took the hog. My daughter loves it.
Upside down.
Basket butt apple. Basket butt is how you say like big old butt. But you gotta be careful because in the story of the woman who married a bear, that is what she called a bear, and that's why the bears came and got her. Just keep in mind, don't call animals that.
And don't make fun of birds.
Don't make fun of animals in general, right? Just like you see an animal and it's doing something funny, just be like, huh. Got nothing to say about
I have
that
nothing to say
whatsoever.
about that. It's acting perfectly normal.
Like, you know, sometimes, you know, raising kids is fun. It's like when our oldest kid was real little, like she's had some food and like she just bent over and just started like eating it like a dog out of her plate, just kind of goofing around. And I thought it was funny, but I knew if I laughed, I would be encouraging this. So I looked at my wife and I was like, that's not funny at all. That was hilarious. Okay. Moving on.
Question.
Question.
On Quaid.
On Quaid. Ist Uchpa.
Ja.
Ja. Kubuch. Ashten.
What?
Quite.
What? Okay, yeah.
And that can be a verb root as well, to lay an egg or to nest. Out the quite. Kaya away. Wait, is the achi. Out the quite. I told my daughter, do hachi, I get chocolate.
Oh.
She's gonna grow up so twisted. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's so fun.
Zisk.
Zisk. In some communities, zisk is also an owl with tufts. but in most communities that is Cisco.
Cisco.
So, you know, when we talk about these words that are very close, Zisco, moose, Cisco, owl, Tzitsko, little bird. Every now and then we get these ones that are just brain twisters.
Pasta.
Huasta,
Ga.
Ga, Juan, Z. And page 10, Ich Uchtva,
Gooch.
Gooch, Kuwuch, Ashtin,
Ka.
Kuk,
Kakesh.
Katesh,
Kat.
Chat,
Con.
Khan,
Buena.
Goina,
Quan.
Juan, Ich Uchtva,
Na.
Na. Oh, Kuwuch, did you say that one? Ashtin,
They're like, we're waiting for the easy ones.
Everyone just goes missing online. That's fine.
Schleb.
Schleb.
Okay.
So there's this little an apostrophe K you can put on the ends of things to make them small or cute, pinchable. And there's a place name in Chilkoot, if you've ever been to Chilkoot Lake. And if you're looking at the lake, and you look at your right-hand side, and there's a big mountain there, big flat spot where there used to be this huge rock outcropping they called Chertok, Raven's hammer nose. Fell off into the lake puked and washed out all these houses, which is why they call it Chilkoot. That mountain is called Little Red Snapper. L high-toned E I, underline K, apostrophe W, K, apostrophe. It sounds like this. Schlep, 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 schlep. So next semester we'll learn all about these little suffixes and what kinds of weird things they do. They're lots of fun.
Shanahuai.
Shanahuai.
Duhan.
Duhun. Chot. Nech. Ich Uchtva.
Yana 8.
Yana 8. Kuwuch.
Hit.
Hit. Okay, let's keep doing. These are the closing lines from a speech. Shkate is Chukini the elder. She was living in Sitka at the time. She was a lot of fun. I was really fortunate to speak a lot of Tlingit with her while she was alive. And this was probably 2011, I think the fall of 2011. We went to Sitka, and I went to visit her, and I brought a recorder, and I was trying to practice recording elders, and all I got was the audio. And I recorded a number of things, but one of the things I asked her is just to give a message to Tlingit language learners, and it's a much longer recording. It's on the YouTube channel that I have if you ever want to see it. But this particular line, Yigu ayach kwan. Everybody say that. Yigu ayach kwan. And then if you're talking to one person, Igu ayach kwan. And it's a kind of, it's hard to break down really how it functions, but it means have strength and courage. You know, and this is something, if you see somebody who's giving a speech and you have a feeling it's going to be difficult, and you see them start to sort of choke up, you yell it out. Now, in the best of all worlds, the eagles would yell that to the ravens, and the ravens would yell that to the eagles. So as we sort of start to restore some of our cultural ways of doing things, if I'm a raven and I see someone who's a raven up there and they're struggling, I may want to yell this out, but I would pause and wait for an eagle person or a wolf person to do that. And so you just keep track of who's talking and what clan they are. Because oftentimes the ones who are responding to that or yelling back to that person in certain occasions should be their clan opposites. And then I'll just say these ones and then sort of break it down. So yishishkuhas, your grandparents. This ha thing, it pops up in a lot of different places. And the best way to translate it is you see, right? So it's just calling attention to this sort of thing. Your grandparents, you see. They are listening to what you have to say. So wusi'ach would mean to hear a voice. Their listening is right on your mouth. Is really how that verb's kind of working. And this means they're listening to what you have to say. Yidat means now. Qunne means it's an adverb, so it jumps up in the preverb right before a verb, and it means that verb is beginning to happen. Whatever the verb is, it's beginning to happen. We're walking along it. We are walking along it. So, also. Uhanaya, it's us. Hashishkuhas, our grandparents. Hastu ityantu at. So this is a motion verb. Hastu it means to follow along behind them. We are the ones walking behind them. And then we get the end. Shtakat yuhan means all of you all. And it's a nice chant. She's got Yiguayach one in there 4 times, and you hear, and then you hear. It's an amazing speech. It was really neat to be there. I don't know what just happened. Whose turn is it? Oh wait, let's take a break. 7 minutes.
Is it my turn when we're done?
Sure.
Well, I don't remember.
So in Tongass Tlingit, because you always say human is kitten, what is it when there's only one high tone vowel? How does that? Because heen is high tone EE.
Right.
What if it's like hit, house? Because it can't. Could it be hitted? Because then how would you distinguish between?
No, there's kind of. Hold on, let's see if I can find it.
That's what I was thinking about.
So this is the verbal structure handbook from James Crippen. It's got a version that you can print and you can fold it in half. It's very amazing. But early on, he's got some dialect information in here. And then I think he's got some information about the vowels and how they work.
Oh, call is how it.
So I think it's just low.
Oh,
But as far as
Oh.
what an actual
and then it,
short and low vowel would be.
short and high.
Hmm?
Because well, if long and high is the glottal stop, how would you distinguish between short and low and short and high? Just a glottal stop?
Let's see. I don't think there's a glottal on the high tone though. Let's see. Huh, that's a good question. I don't see it in here. Huh. But I don't know how it would mark a low tone single vowel. There's got to be a way to do it though.
Because otherwise it'd all be just context.
Right. Let me see. Let me try another. Let me see if that's in here anywhere else.
Because tone is so critical in northern and transitional Tlingit, so it's not.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I guess it's not. Let me see. He's got a bunch of stuff. They're all really good. Let's see if I can find it in a different one.
And also, and I don't know where the information is coming from on the Wikipedia page, but it said that when Olson was doing anthropology among the Tlingit, that the gamma was still present in wherever he was.
Huh. Wow.
Because he recorded Yan Mushahashihit as with the gamma, so it was like Yan Mushahashihit.
Yeah, I think I got a student who's doing a close listen to Tuk Tuk by it's by Frank Johnson, and he says he can hear the gamma in there. That was recorded in I think the 70s. So yeah, you certainly still had speakers that had it. Four-way vowel system: short, long, glottalized, fading. Yeah, there's no way to tell. I don't think. It says short vowels are written as either short high or short low, depending on environment. Be James' question. Good question.
Hey, Lance.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about final for both JP and I. We're going to be traveling to Los Angeles the 21st, and we'll come back on the 29th. But we're still going to log on, but I wasn't sure if that's the last day of class as well, or if maybe we could do our presentation or our final. Maybe I can do mine on the 29th, and maybe he could do his on the 30th.
And those are the last few days on the syllabus? Is that right?
Well, I think our last day is coming up Monday. Is that Monday of finals week, isn't it?
Yeah, so our last our last day of class is the 27th, and then the last day of the Tlingit linguistics class is the 28th. Would you guys be traveling on those dates?
Well, I can do the 26th.